So I hope you'll see what I have now made public. Did you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay. So where are the browsers? My name is Marten Feldtmann. I'm from Germany, somewhere here, northern of Hamburg in Denmark, something there. I'm living. And in my talk, I would like to summarize the last 7-8 years using GemStone as a platform for delivering project or product solutions. Some parts will be critical, but most of the parts are very well. So very nice product. So my person, I'm a single small talker, or I'm the only one small talker in 2 companies working with small talk, some dialects of small talk. I would say I'm one of these Atari kids in Germany who was triggered by Georg Heeg by buying Smalltalk 80 for an Atari ST. And so I started Smalltalk somewhere in the 80s, and you see some other dialects I also used. And one of my highlights was a product or a project I was allowed to work with. It was one of the companies I'm now working is in the area of doing election result presentation for television stuff. And this was a major project in my Smalltalk career. Because I met some technologies I really liked. It was Envy. I think this formed me for the next 20-25 years. Using Envy as a source code management. We used Argos, which was my first modeling tool, a code generating tool, and a UI generating tool. And I met my first object-oriented database, Worsened. And together with Visualworks, this forms one product. You model your persistency domain classes, and Argos then defined the database structure, and Argos was able to, for Versant, and Argos was able to build, well, some strange looking UIs for Visualworks, even with drag and drop support. Perhaps, well, strange UI, definitely, but it works, and you get tables, and formed something like Vast had at those days with the up layer. And I looked around and found only these 3 pictures from this old product we are working on. Actually, I don't know where the source code is, I have to admit. I hope that I find the Envy repository someday. This was the first time when normal PC hardware was used to produce animated graphics on television. This is in the area before HD and 720p. So normal 1024 pixel wide. This was used in Visualworks with a native OpenGL wrapper, and it was pretty amazing stuff to get around the garbage collector during broadcasting so that the graphics are fluently animated. Really an eye catcher, and was one of the key Smalltalk projects in those days. You see, it's a European election in 1999. Okay, we started to migrate then away from Smalltalk to C#. We started the migration around 2002. The Visualworks product itself runs until 2006. And when we went to C#, we had no modeling tool, no code generator, and so we decided we write our own modeling tool and code generator for C#, for a C#. Well, we were used to Smalltalk, so I used VS Smalltalk to write this tool. We defined a programming model which consists out of an in-RAM database distributed among lots of other working places. So if you are in a broadcasting studio and you have 10 users, all of these users have this C# program with an in-RAM database, and they are all replicated. So if you have a cable cut through, that you have an emergency exit to make broadcasting your graphics or other stuff. Around 10 years later, we tried to extend our studio software to the internet. We were not actually, we didn't consider C# to do this one, but we used several approaches. One was we used Apache CouchDB, and we made some playouts system for HBBTV, which is a sub service for, if you press the red button on the TV, you get an internet-based information service on normal TVs today. And we did the first election presentation, those for the Bundestagswahl, the German election 2013. And this project with Apache CouchDB failed nearly. The replication shut down during the broadcast evening. But we survived this one, and then I said that I want to restart again and try it again, a Smalltalk-based solution. And at those days or years, 2014, 2015, GemStone reduced the license fee dramatically. So I think it was, I don't know the numbers of those days, but I think it was a free license, and you could do pretty much stuff with this license. The question within the company was pretty clear: Smalltalk or not. We had bad experience with it was Park Place those days. And to be on the more sure side, the management said, well, yeah, it's okay, we can try this out. We try it, but they gave me some things I had to consider. The first one, it should be purely API based, and the next one, it should be purely browser based. I think they did it just to get on the safe side if something happened again, as it happened 2000 with Visualworks. I said okay, and I got the permission to start with GemStone. And those days, my only idea was to make it run, to get it working. And then over the years, this is my main topic. What can be done in a few hours? We have lots of situations where we have ideas and we want to talk about ideas, and someone wants to make a demo. And it is very impressive how JavaScript people can create a demo out of the box, well, within some hours, but well, they can do it. And that's what I want to achieve with GemStone and JavaScript UIs and stuff like this. I have not finished my way. This one, I have to do all these points you see here manually, but it would be much more easier if it would be done automatically. Yeah, but this is the general idea I have in mind now for this application stack. You meet at a meeting, then you go out of the meeting, you get up into your modeling tool, you make the persistency right, and you get persistency via GemStone practically for free. And this is a major advantage. You set up the environment server, the JavaScript UI. Perhaps you have a template UI already available, some Python scripts perhaps for support, and then you have the initial UI perhaps to log in, and then you write some additional JavaScript screens to show the ideas. But then you have a full working application, pretty stable, and then on the next day you can go into the meeting and tell, well, I have a demo, and what do you think about? This is one of my main wishes for this stack, because if you the first one who can show a demo, you can make you put your card on the table. So I can do it, and there are well, I don't get a Smalltalk project for free in our company, so mostly I get projects which are not really wanted by other developers, and they say, well, okay, I do it, and doing a demo within a few hours is really amazing. And the JavaScript guys are very, very good at this. This is my technical target. I want to support. The dark yellow one are the old parts. I support Java clients and Python clients, C# clients, and XenShare-XJS, which is a commercial library. And Apache is, of course, there just to make my hardware or my networker happy. GemStone, of course, the modeling tool, and since 21, 22, RabbitMQ and PostgreSQL. And for 24, I hope to integrate Apache Superset into this stack. You have to remember that I'm a one-person show in these companies, so no one of my colleagues are interested in this technology. I can that's no idea. No, they don't. We had several discussions about this. They, in most opinion of the younger developers, this is old technology, and it is not worth to invest time to do Smalltalk in general. And GemStone, well, in the kitchen, they say GemStone is Marten's strange database. So that is the acceptance of the stack. Perhaps a more better reason for this, to understand these developers, they said if they leave the company and they go to another company and they get their certificate, their work certificate of what they have done, they said entries. If there's an entry, he worked with object-oriented databases like GemStone, or he worked with Vast or VisualWorks or whatever, Faro. In their view, these lines are worth of nothing. They said this a line with Mongo, a line with Maria or Oracle DB2 is much, much more worth than stuff like this. So this is the main acceptance problems in our company. But despite these problems, I always get new projects, and so that's I'm still survive now with Smalltalk. I want to show some demos of application which evolved out of this stack. This stack is evolved over the years, of course, and these applications are not high sophisticated ones, not all, but they were projects, and they show some development steps in this stack. The first one is the most critical one, and Giovanni, this has to be removed from the application, from the recording.
Do you want me to pause the recording and then?
Yeah. Okay. I just want to. Okay.
Yeah, I can pause the recording here and then I'll restart it when you finish that demo. Yeah.
Okay.
Should I do that? Okay. I'll press pause. And yeah, just to catch the next bit.
And then I started with this CARTI management system, and this is, interviewer call you and they want to ask if you would like to answer a survey. This may be perhaps the source is your medical insurance company, and you want to ask members of the insurance companies how they feel, what they like, what they don't like, and stuff like this. Surveys can be political surveys also. So this was then the most complex application so far. and it has lots of screens. This is a multi-tenant application, lots of projects. Each project is a survey, and it has lots of addresses, telephone addresses. It gets called, they call it. And this application gets connected to all users, up to 100, 200 users doing telephone calls. And this is the view of the administrator. He has an overview who is online. Nobody's online, as you can see. You hear studies and then additional sub views, and all this done is updated via APIs, and so no tricks. Everything has to be done via APIs. And the main problem here is a lot of concurrency is happening. You see the study has 25,000 telephone addresses or telephone numbers, and there's a dialer in the background catching it within seconds, lots of telephone numbers, calling them, give state information back to this information about is it busy, is it not available, or stuff like this. And if he get a connect, the system puts the interview and the survey through to an interview who has time, has nothing to do. And then with an interview, he tries to get answers from the person. And at the end, you make a report how the survey happens. So this one is the most difficult ones in terms of concurrency, in terms of widgets, APIs, root calls, and all the stuff. User management and stuff like this. Everything what you think you must have in such an application.
It's quite fast, actually, in terms of, as you were clicking through the screens, it was pretty snappy. What's it running? I mean, I know it's running on GemStone, but for the web-based stuff, are you using Seaside or are you using something else?
When we switched on this area as a path of development, we decided to make API, but we also decided to use a commercial JavaScript library. 2014, 2015, we had the other possibility would be jQuery with lots of other plugins, and we are definitely not the masters of CSS and styling our own tools. And so we decided we buy a commercial JavaScript library, and which has everything in one, with us in the same theme, and we don't have to do that much.
Do you remember what the library was?
Sencha XGS.
Oh, that was the one that you had on the okay, gotcha, right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, is there a lot of client-side JavaScript, or is it quite a thin JavaScript layer, and then most of the heavy lifting is in the back end with GemStone, right? Or?
Well, this one, no, mostly this is business logic. You retrieve data, you show data, you edit data. So there's nothing really high sophisticated. It is the amount of various data you have to show. So it's just a matter of time. You need to implement all the wanted information.
Okay, gotcha.
And you also have to give some additional stuff, for example, to GemStone statics, if you want to know how GemStone is working, if it has problems, or if you have configured it in a false way. If you want to know what packages are included, what is your GemStone license, so have you installed the correct license at the client, all these stuff, and background tasks. I will come to all of these aspects later, because but this was running on an unlimited license of GemStone. This is quite a different, and I wanted to show this. So the development this was originally a two-person development. One was doing the UI, and I was doing the back end, the networking, and the documentation and stuff like this. But now we have reduced the all Smalltalk stuff to one person. So to me, so I manage the whole stuff now. Then we switched back to the other company again, and then we started 2021 with a dashboard, which is again a very successful application. It's we had two elections this month here in Germany, and what we offer to broadcasting companies, to broadcasting centers, they have, most of these broadcasters have also a social media department or an internet department who have their websites for the sender, ARD or ZDF or however they are called here, NBC but of course I talk about German senders, broadcasters, and we offer them all the graphics available at the election evening during the broadcast. And some people at the broadcasters feeding the social media stuff like Instagram, they can download these graphics, look how the election predictions are, and so they download it and publish them on the internet. This is pretty successful since 21. We had during the German election around 10 broadcaster companies, all with different designs, something 16:9 here, but also 4:5, 1:1, 8:9, and they have all very, very different approaches. The nice thing here is that new technology came up. It was, as you can see, PDF. This is a library from Christian Haider and Bob Nemec. So it is PDF talk from Christian, who is here. And the main stuff, the reporting stuff, is done by a library from Bob Nemec. Bob Nemec, no, is its name. So and then the stack showed up I couldn't do much more in less time, and so the best year was 23 this year, because I could publish 2 additional applications, products, and they are add-ons to the internet stuff, to the Webcardy stuff. No, this is the wrong one. This is the right one.
Sorry, Martin, just to back up to the previous application. So again, was that the same sort of pattern with there's some how much is like server side Smalltalk and how much is the JavaScript stuff? I guess the PDFs generated server side. I saw a bit of XJS there, so is some of it.
Yes, it is. Again, the UI itself is not the critical part here. Definitely not. Lots of stuff is done here in the back end on a production way of producing these graphics, which is not done in GemStone. This is only done. This product is based on a 2-core license of GemStone. So what you can't do here is you can't call graphic magics to make graphic post-processing, because I will go into this tile when I will talk about criticism about a license and what it means if you get the wrong license, because it changed your whole programming model of GemStone, in my opinion.
Okay, all right.
So this is a pretty nice application, and it's very successful, and this is the application I will work this winter and this spring for the next European election next year. Here we will add videos, the making of videos and stuff like this. We will add this, and it seems to be very successful. As I said, 22 and 21, I think, GemStone published new libraries, and this was PostgreSQL extension and a RabbitMQ extension. And it took some time, but then I got 2 projects and I made them as you can see, they were published 23, one in spring The first one, the CTM, which is managing interviewing work times, and the other one is an interviewer scheduling time, which went into production 1st on October, so this month. So this was the first time to publish 2 products in 1 year. So if I so to give you an idea, in this application, lots of stuff is included. This is rather, it is an XGS application with the UI hosted by GemStone, but GemStone is mostly doing relational database access. So a little bit strange for GemStone, but GemStone does the logic and does the user management and does the project management, but the raw data is coming from a relational database. And there is reporting, PDF reporting again, and all that stuff. And the last one is similar in view, is the interviewer scheduling stuff. So interviewers can select their work times for the next 3 weeks. They can say, I want to work here and there, or on Saturday and Monday. And again, here the same stuff. PostgreSQL to get the working time. And but this again is more a GemStone database application, because this business data is stored in GemStone. So you see, this is really a rather mixture how to use GemStone. And this application will be the start to maintain something like a superset, so to include a dashboard, because I don't know why, but a dashboard is a must. The people want to have dashboards. And so this is my playground. This is my actual work is this one, first table. And here GemStone talks with superset and gives him the tokens and stuff like this. But most of the part is done, of course, by using superset, and that's what the customer is actually expecting. And this could be done due to the fact that all my application will save a copy of the data, or the store a copy of the data into the Postgres database. So I now always deliver 2 databases. And superset is working on the Postgres database, which, in addition to this, if you have only a 2-core license from GemStone, gives you much more computing power for GemStone. So that's the application. And now to the technical part. Well, GemStone, yes, okay. I have to say it's an object-oriented database. The programming style is pretty like a client software with transaction, but with client software, nearly no query needed. It has a comfortable database language. I don't mention that it's Smalltalk if I talk with customers. It has a very comfortable, full database programming language. And I'm working with a current release 3.6.5, 6.6, 7.0 is thought to be used in 24 and on the current Linux distributions. And to be honest, where are we with GemStone or with object-oriented technology? And I have to say that I get the feeling that object-oriented database technology is really vanishing, and only a few people have ever touched an object-oriented database, and pretty sad stuff. Most of the people are triggered by Mongo. So we have a ranking which is from October this year. Object-oriented databases 0.3%. So this is our market, and a little bit better is for PostgreSQL, which is on place on rank 4. And if you see GemStone on the object-oriented database, it's on place 11. Well, so you can't expect that if you go in Hamburg through a technical meetup and then you say, hey, I'm doing object-oriented programming in GemStone and Smalltalk, you will stand alone in the room and nobody can talk to you. So that's it. GemStone itself is pretty large and complex. It's Linux only, and this is one of the. All my colleagues are working under Windows. They distribute under Linux, but they work under Windows. Not having a Windows database is, for them, a no-go. So I'm the only one who works on.
Is that true in the days of Docker though? I would have thought that even on Windows, you just like you run your Docker image in there, boom, you've got your database running.
Well, you could also run a virtual machine, yes.
Yeah.
But installing Docker with GemStone is not an easy part. Somewhere has to do it, and GemStone has no ready-to-go image.
Okay,
And
so
even
that's the weak bit, right?
Yeah. So, and if you want to go with Mongo, you download it and you install it. If you go with PostgreSQL, you download it, you install it, it works, and then the people know what to do. GemStone is a pretty minimalistic approach in terms of a product because, for example, if you go with PostgreSQL, you at least have tools for backup and restore. I think GemStone, you have to go into the programming area and type some Smalltalk code to get a backup or a restore. And before this, you should read the documentation how to do it. And this is, for lots of people, perhaps a little bit too less tooling. So for this typical approach like backup and restore, it would be nice to have small tools who can do this. GemStone has a pretty high quality. Yes, I really like the base stuff of GemStone, which is delivered by GemTalk system. It has no official development tools. There are lots available in very different variation. I use Jade from James Foster, and this is you need a commercial license with restrictions. And I want to talk about this one because sometimes I'm really getting angry. These are the easy licenses you get from GemStone. You can, if you download GemStone, you get the starter license. This is a license which never ends. It gives you 1 GB of shared space, 2 cores, and but you may only have one production repository. Okay, and you have only 10 gems, which means you have only 10 external Smalltalk virtual machines running against the stone. Some are needed by the system itself, and some are used by your application. Okay, start with the cores. If we have cores and you go with 2 or 4 cores, they have limitation that they are stick to a CPU core. So if you start GemStone, the starter edition with 2 cores, it is stick to core 0 and core 1. No chance. If you have now, if you rent a system with 64 GB of RAM, 16 threads, and you install a second GemStone, it will also work only under 0 and 1. So you have wonderful hardware, which is even your desktop computer may have 16 cores or 8 cores, 12 cores. You can't use it. It also means if you think GemStone centristic, so if you think I am GemStone, I do everything from GemStone. I start external tasks from GemStone. For example, graphic magics or bash scripts or Python scripts to do external stuff. If you do this, there's one limitation of all these started programs. They are stick to the cores of the mother process. So whatever you do, you take away the power from your own GemStone database. So if you start with these licenses, you have to go the other way around. GemStone starts nothing. You have to start all the application beside GemStone so that they can use the free threads. And then you have to introduce some intercommunication between GemStone and, of course, the other threads, either by your API you have written, or perhaps by some shortcuts via, for example, 0MQ or stuff like this, where you go internally, not over the HTTP stuff, and which is time consuming. There could also be a faster way to communicate with GemStone. So this is the first point. If you have these sticky cores, you always have to think about you can do pretty much work with 2 cores, definitely, without any question. But don't think about putting all the logic in GemStone, start long-term tasks, for example, even if they are background tasks for the operating system. They will take your power from GemStone, and you need this for your API service handling and stuff like this. Then we have a limitation of the shared memory, SPC, 2 GB or 4 GB. In the time of NVMe SSDs, you can stick with 2 GB and you get very much speed from this one. The other one is the limitation of gems. So the number of Smalltalk virtual machines running against this core. Normally, well, 10 or 20 gems, you should say, well, that should be really enough for a process. But if you think in processes and processing, they are all running concurrently, and you really live in this programming paradigm, and perhaps 5 processes are used by GemStone itself, then you have to take this number into account, because perhaps you have 15. You counted your processes you use, and you say, at the best case, or the worst case, only 15 own processes are running. But then you add perhaps nightly cron jobs who started nightly for one time, and you make a mistake, and you start several cron jobs at the same time to do backup, or to do some garbage collecting, to automatic deletion of data you don't want to show the customer anymore. Then you suddenly perhaps jump over the 20 gems, and then all these stuff is not running anymore. Disk space, the 10 gigabyte. 10 gigabyte is, well, in GemStone, 10 gigabyte can be reached pretty easily without any question. If you forget a garbage collector, to run a garbage collector which is not automatically running, then you can reach 10 gigabyte very easily. Even 50 gigabyte is, I think 50 gigabytes, yes, you can do in GemStone pretty much with 50 gigabyte, but you always have to think about, if you reach this space limit, GemStone shuts down, and you have to connect GemStone to give you a temporary license to make it run again, and to reduce this extent to get under the 50 gigabyte stuff. Production repositories too, well, okay, that's you can live with it. These easy licenses, so limited is time limited, so you have to get each year a new license from them. This is another limitation. The starter is lasting forever, but the limited is 1 year. And also the other licenses are 1-year licenses. These licenses are a fixed price, as you see the license on the right hand side, the 4 columns. You can get, of course, additional license where you have a very different payment, very often some percent of the money you earned, you have to pay to GemStone. But here again, I have to say that GemTalk System is a very, very friendly company. They talk to you, and they made sometimes stuff possible which is official not possible. So that's a very, very friendly company.
Just back to that one. So, like, are you getting at, you think that there's a column missing? I mean, like the 4 columns, so it's like, just
full extended SPC, extended CPU, and extended full. These are the fixed price. You have to pay a fixed price each year.
Yep.
There are
like you want 1,500 a year. I mean, like with the things that you're talking about, are you hinting at like you really need the extended full to do anything useful, or if you paid 1,500 a year, I mean, if you've got a decent product, it doesn't sound, I mean, obviously it hurts, but it doesn't sound impossible.
Yes,
right?
it hurts. It hurts because 2 cores means that you have to think about your programming model. Do you want to, as I mentioned, starting processes? And under Unix, it is very often that you start sub-processes, bash scripts and stuff like this, doing additional work. And if they only can, and if these sub-processes can only work on the same cores, there's a problem. Okay.
So what, you've got to go up to 4 cores then? Is that the one? So you're in the 3,000 a year to make it reasonable in your?
No, not really. No, not really. If you have 2 or 4 cores, you have to think about what you do when you fork additional processes from GemStone. Imagine you have seen the graphic these picture dashboards. There are lots of graphical post-processing stuff. Normally, this could be done in GemStone. Either you call the Magic Graphics library directly from GemStone, or you do it by producing a Python program or C# program calling graphics magic.
Yeah.
If you call this from GemStone, they have to work, they are forced to work in the GemStone cores. And this has to be, you have to stick around this.
So is it that core limitation that you think is sort of putting the pressure? It's
Yes.
like, you don't mind paying a decent amount of money. Obviously, we want GemStone to stay in business, but the pressure on cores means that you can't do work in GemStone that might be like nice, easy work to do, but you're needing cores, and you just can't afford to go up in a way.
You need the cores for your API processing, because you have lots of cores, lots of processes on these 2 cores, servicing HTTP API worker class, working on requests coming from outside. And this is the main task for GemStone. And then you actually reduce the work of GemStone to a database holder system. And
right. So it's sort of reducing the interesting work, the kind of the pressures feel a little bit misbalanced. Is kind of what you're getting at in a way. That's okay. That's so obviously the GemStone guys are often around, so I mean, there is a conversation worth having at some point. Maybe it's interesting. Okay.
The price is totally okay. I think if you do commissionless stuff and you pay 1.5 or even 3,000 or even 6,000, well, it's okay. But if I'm a student and I want to get into this one, and I want to have multiple cores, and I want to really get the feeling of GemStone, then it would be very, very nice to get perhaps a development license, an unlimited license. Because if you program GemStone with an unlimited, the other license I use in the other company is unlimited. So I have unlimited threads I can use. And you can see sometimes GemStone working on 16 threads with 80% doing their work. And then you get a fascinating idea how GemStone can work if it's not handled.
Gotcha.
Okay. GemStone itself. Well, actually, I think GemStone, and this is the problem, has no programming model for most of the developers out there. They have GemBuilder, which they say themselves it's an old programming paradigm, and they have Seaside. And other than that, there is nothing. And this is, I think, pretty bad. I can understand for a product seller that they don't want to jump on 2 different parties. And but if I would give this database to a non-small target developer, Well, you take PostgreSQL, you know the programming model, you have an ODBC driver, you install it, and you know how to work with it. And all tools have support for it. Well, you can take MongoDB. You have support in all EDAs for this one, and they have a programming model, and you can read this, and you have here you have GemStone, and GemStone has everything you need to build your own programming model. But they don't say if you want to have an API-oriented model, you have to think about HTTP service and how do you do this and stuff like this. They give you they give you all the tools you could use, but you will never get success on the first day. You will never make it work. You will never get an application giving you a solution. You have to stick very long into this tool to work a programming model for yourself. So the first time here, when I started, define a programming model, as I said, UI and browser, API oriented, and we wanted to have some event-oriented stuff. In the early days, it was 0MQ. Now we use 0MQ or RapidMQ, and you should limit yourself when you do work. So we used one UI. We don't support, or I don't support Angular or stuff like this because it would take additional work, and I'm only one person to do this. And I have never done it with Genix. I only do work for Apache because our networker is doing Apache, and then he's friendly to me if I use Apache. And I have code generators only for GemStone, Essential XJS, and Python. But this is not shown here, also for Java and for C#. Java is actually used, but not for UI application, but for some data interprocess communication, but no UI. They deliver data to our system. To reduce the to get support, I installed the GS Dev Kit from Dale Henry's from GemStone Systems because it gives you additional tools to manage GemStone. A GemStone running GemStone database. You can create it, you can delete it, you can make I think even backup is possible. And for especially he writes support for migration from one GemStone version to another GemStone version, which is in my history one of the most critical part. And well, open source available at GitHub, sure. The next one I always use from James Foster, also from GemTalk System, his Dolphin-based Jade IDE. So I always have a Windows virtual machine running on my Linux system just for this program. It gives me a more classical view of the Smalltalk within GemStone, and I like this classical part more. Now we come to Apache, and this is another point I would like to mention. Apache is mainstream. It has a load balancer, but it has, for GemStone, a bad usage of resources. If you define API calls, and I think this should generally be the case, you will have the timing behavior of these API calls very heavy. You have very speedy APIs, you have perhaps long time APIs, and you may have APIs which need a lot of memory in terms of GemTalk processes working on this request. So I categorized my application in these execution profiles: normal, long, memory, and I stick and via the load balancer I put several gem tasks behind this. And this is a bad usage of resources, because a memory is also possible to work on a normal API call or a long API call. The only thing what should not happen, that a normal API call should land on a memory gem task. But this is not configurable, and so you have to stick with this one. Put some tasks under normal, put some tasks under long, and put some tasks heavy, memory intensive, under a few tasks under memory. Yeah, this is the Apache thing I have seen. Normally with a standard Linux version 22, 20, and 18, I can feed around, without changing the configuration of Apache, I can feed around 100, 140 users. With above this, you will see socket problems, and then you have to change the configuration of Apache to use more sockets. And we made tests that we have reached up to 800 users on one machine, but technically we made some on some Raspberry Pis testing machines, which were doing heavy request, normal speedy request against this database, and up to 800 users are possible. But then you have to trigger your machine, your hardware, and all the socket using tools. So the heart of the whole application is my own modeling tool. I wrote originally for C# 2002, and I added a GemStone programming model, the API oriented. This model is no, it's not UML. It's homegrown stuff. It's nothing which is intellectual, very worthwhile. You have a programming model. You divide between domain classes, persistent classes in GemStone, and API classes. The API classes, so you have two, always in all projects, you have two hierarchies. You have the API classes, which are perhaps copies of persistence classes, and you have the persistence domain classes. And you define attributes, and either the normal ones, this is an integer attribute, this is a string, UTF-16 or a time, date, whatever you want to do. You may have access path attributes, which means from this object within GemStone, go over several association and take an attribute and bring it back to this instance. And you have search paths. You can tell them, well, I give you two attributes from domain object, and then go this search path and give me the target object I want to reach. You can define an enumeration. You can define some SQL support to support the PostgreSQL extension from GemTalk system. You can define events, and well, of course, you can define APIs. And the APIs I choose here, the model is an HTTP RPC model. It's not an HTTP REST model. You define GRUDs based on this HTTP RPC model and simple calls. And then, as I mentioned before, you group similar API calls to API calls profile according to the time you think these calls will take, if it's a fast talk or a fast call or not. So there's a built-in code generator. And for GemStone S, for example, it creates domain and API classes, accessor methods, initialization methods. It defines classes holding the enumeration. It defines conversion helper methods. For example, if the XGS has its own filtering statements, its own sorting statements, if you want to work on tables. So these messages convert the structure to on the fly compiled Smalltalk blocks doing the queries or doing the work the UI wanted to have. It helps for migration, domain migration code. That means if my application goes from version 1.0 to 1.1, it will create migration code to adapt the values of the attributes. And it can create, this is for the Topaz creator. And for other clients, it will create API classes and accessor to API classes, attributes. So, for example, in the JavaScript, you really have a class-based model. You program on a class-based model, and you have attributes and attributes accessor, which is a very high level and programming style. Sometimes for JavaScript people, a very unusual approach. And I got a lot of critics. Oh, this is so high JavaScript call. Takes so much time. Why don't we work under the typical A.B.C schema and not these API classes? But I think it's a very good programming model for the client, for the JavaScript client. Then I introduced patterns, and this is as you remember, I wanted to get a system which is which I can, for example, if I want to have users in my application, I want to have customers, I want to have projects, and I want to, so I can, I have installed 10 or 12 patterns, and if I add them to my model, this pattern tries to find where it can stick in. So, for example, the base model consists of out of a session object and a user object, and the user is connected via an association to a session. But if I add a customer, the customer pattern looks at the model and finds a user at the session, and then it changes the model structure. Then the top models are the customers, and this customer has users. And so the same with the project structure. If the project structure sees a customer element in the model, it knows it should be placed below the customer. If there's no customer, then they are a global project association. The same with event group, with user groups and stuff like this. So normally when I start working with PUM, I started, this is PUM. I don't want to do very much with it. Just I throw away this project, and then I say I want to have a new project, default stuff. So there's nothing here. We have two domain objects, two high level, the two top classes, and this is the top class for persistency. And what I do now is, in general, I said, well, please give me a full tenant stack model. And then he adds all the classes to my model, and he adds lots of API calls. So you have customer project list, a project member list, which user is in which project. You can change the server. You have a server list if you want to connect with external servers, and lots of API calls about sessions. And you have, for example, CRUD calls. These are the CRUD calls. You have 3 calls: a read, a delete, an update API call. And one of the rules in PUM is that each call has its own parameter and its own result model class. So this is how I worked. I normally use the whole system and I implement what I need. And so that's it.
So you've sort of built this up over time, isn't it? So these patterns are things that you found you were doing a lot, and then you added it as a pattern, and now you can.
Yes. I found that I need as an administrator, I need the GemStone statistics. So it's pretty clear that I need some kind of CRUD call to show this the result into a table, and then the license list or the software packages is the same stuff. It's just a CRUD call with the read part implemented, just to get a table with all software packages installed. The same with user list, but then here, of course, all for type of calls should be implemented. Well, if you don't want to delete if you don't want to delete them, then you don't implement them. You can implement the calls when you need them. So this is in general PUM, and then it generates code for various codes. I have C#, which is an asynchronous way, C# asynchronous for Unity in a synchronous C# way, because we use Unity 3D for producing the election graphics. Dolphin has not been finished. Topaz, of course, is the main stuff. I have a VA Smalltalk client stuff, but I've never have usage for this one. Pharo is not implemented. Java is full implemented. Python full implemented. XJS is full implemented. And Swift was a candidate, but well, no need for it.
So when it generates the code, is it the API call, like the API call, and then the actual implementation inside it, and is it all template driven? Like, are you writing all these templates and then?
No. It's not template driven. It's all it's written as pure code.
Okay, so like you've got an implementation for each one of these things, and you sort of output to some code stream or something.
Yes. You see this also in the you can see every compiled method in Jade. If you want to do this, and if you have an editor, have an error, you can change this. But normally you will not do this. It's because it will be overwritten the next time. So this is PUM. This is the heart of the whole development.
That's years of work, I would imagine. It's a lot.
Yes, it's it started 2002 for C#, and it's still used there for C#. So it's and it's a very different persistency model there in RAM. Okay, and this now is totally fitted towards GemStone. So this is a very low level stuff, because if you look here, you have associations. And what I really want to do here, I want to have clear access how this implementation is implemented. For example, I can say it's a dictionary, it's an index set, it's an ordered collection, it is a reuse, it is a queue in GemStone, which is a very suitable form if you have multi-concurrency, multiple reader, and so stuff like this. This is a very nice queue for background tasks where lots of pushers push their background jobs into this queue, and via an API call, another one just tracks out the background jobs and then puts this on. So, and then you can say, well, you have set and you can sort it. And if you, for example, if you make a dictionary, and then I go back, you can tell them, well, I want to have a dictionary, but in the dictionary, then I want to say, I want to get the name as the key for the dictionary. And so I can define very, very well GemStone oriented how the association I use there has to be implemented. If you want to have an index, you can say, well, yes, I want to have an index, but this index should be based on some attributes of the classes hold in this association. So you can add, I want to have this one, and this is an identity index. And so GemStone creates an identity index for this special association. So this is a low level, definitely a low level modeling tool, not in UML on a high level stuff, but a low level stuff. And you can add some remarks or documentation, and this will put into the source code. So these are some statistics for the projects I have now done with GPAS. As I said, the largest one is the CARTI, which has 280 domain classes and more than 500 API classes. And it's very data driven, as you can see here, 239 API calls based on CRUD structures from the total of 14 API calls. And if I create source code, for example, for the CARTI system, I produce around 20 megabytes of Topaz Smalltalk GemStone code, and the dashboard is 1/4 of it. So these are example sizes of the applications I have, and how many. And it's very interesting. For example, here the empty project with this multi-tenant, and you have user projects, project memberships and stuff like this. You have, if you start this project and you need all these features, you have 63 API calls to be implemented. And well, this is quite amount of work. And if you, well, say you manage to get, well, let us say 4 calls each day, then it's a way of calculating how much time you need. And well, 5 calls each day could be a very high number if you want to make testing and stuff like this and the UI stuff. And this helps for me. It's a very good help for getting the complexity of these projects. Sench.js commercial library. As I said, we wanted to have a mobile, a desktop-oriented UI. Commercial, we pay license fee. By the way, license fee paid for this library, there's no problem with it in the company. License fee for GemStone is a daily topic which I have to face. So for example, here PUM creates for this framework model classes, API definition classes, JavaScript classes, proxy definition, which makes the connection between the server and the stores. For example, here the stores are the CRUD calls, which means a table is binded to a CRUD stall, and so it's a very high level programming style there, and you can get in a very short time a very nice UIs.
So after you've generated sort of the framework bits for this, you then write more JavaScript on top to like call those building blocks. Is that right? Or is it generating the whole UI? It's not generating the whole thing.
No, it's not the whole UI. I only create the base points, the non-visual stuff. I create non-visual stuff. There's also code defined for to give you a frame for a specific grid, so you can copy it. But I never use this one. So it's the non-visual part of the UI part, and then you just bind it together via JavaScript code, and then it works magically somehow. So it would be something like in Vast, you would write special ordered collection calls, and so that you can bind an apt UI with a database source, which is possible in VI. So you deliver the non stuff, and in the developer, the UI developer, do the binding of the values together, the non-visual and the visual stuff. So that's Storm. So Postgres. One problem I had to face after I mentioned the company that I also deliver Postgres. Well, is one database not enough, or is your first database not good enough? I have to say that if you get, I also had to answer this question for myself, and I use it only as an export tool only, this extension. The point is that my customer are not used to API stuff. They are used to relational databases. And I have to give them data either as CSV export, or I can give them read-only access to a very special database, PostgreSQL, with a read-only account, and so they can get their own data from that one. And using this one it's a win. It's a win-win situation for GemStone and for me as a developer trying to build applications.
So it's effectively a reporting database is kind of what you're delivering, which is not an uncommon pattern.
Yeah. It meets the customer expectation, and it's pretty good suited for specific data, which gets very large. For example, log data. And the good thing is that it keeps your database therefore smaller. You have to do less garbage collector, and it's definitely better suited for other tools like superset or Postgres. You have access to Postgres if you have a Postgres mapper, so you can do much more. And so it extends your GemStone possibilities. And this is as I see it. And it doesn't care if I use two databases, definitely not. The speed, this is interesting. I had to make speed comparisons because for the first example I showed, the Campaign Manager, this is how is it called? Federal state here in Germany, Nordrhein-Westfalen. And this has 128 electoral districts. I have had to look up these names. And I made the first, I was asked to, what is faster, a relational database to use for this data or GemStone? And what I did, I made one attempt. I used SQLite, which is unfair to GemStone, but well, I think it's one of the fastest available databases because it's only a file database. I made one table, I made one association, I import them, and I made queries, and SQLite wins without any question. GemStone has no chance to get a query against this one, even with indices. The relational databases are so well performed. They have so well query manager, query optimizers. No chance for GemStone to win there. No, definitely not. I think it was about 1 to 5, the relation. But if you change the how to use this data, if you say, no, I don't want to make queries about the whole set, mainly I select one of these electoral districts, the numbered one from 1 to 128, and mostly I do there my queries. So this means in SQLite I still have one table, and in GemStone I now have a hierarchical association, the whole country, and 128 electoral districts. Then, of course, GemStone is faster, without any question. SQLite has to, even with indices, it has to run over it has to consider the 3 million entries, and GemStone has suddenly, by a number of 128 less divider entries to maintain, and then GemStone is faster, without any question. So you can play this. Of course, you can play this game further on. You can give SQLite 128 tables, but then programming SQLite is getting very difficult, or it's not very comfortable. So I want to say this. So it's very difficult to say where a relational database is faster or where's GemStone faster. It depends on the data structure you have, on the queries you get, and both systems can shine very well. But if you have data structures with one large bucket and you put everything in one bucket, the chance is extremely good that a relational database will always win in terms of querying. So RapidMQ is hosted as the second most used message queuing system. And this was the second extension from GemStone. And ZeroMQ is here, which is a file base on place 10. RapidMQ is a very wonderful programming environment, and it changes the whole way you start with multiprocessing and how they communicate with each other. And via this extension, GemStone is an equal member of the RapidMQ family, because you can do everything. You have the whole API under your control. So it simplifies the interlanguage communication, and the other smaller platform, vast platform, I think they are only an MQTT3 member in the RapidMQ world, so they are not an equal member there, but they can deliver on a very low level base data to RapidMQ but RapidMQ will go to MQTT5 next year, and this means that fast will be a more equal number also. But introducing RapidMQ changes the whole programming model. Okay, sorry. This one, another one is OpenAPI. I support OpenAPI mainly to get my colleagues also on the step to support OpenAPI. I'm now the only one in the company who produces OpenAPI specifications.
Is that from PUM that you kind of create that spec?
I define my models in PUM, and PUM defines a GemStone, the GemStone code, and within the GemStone code is the OpenAPI specification implemented. And if there's a special Smalltalk code and I export OpenAPI spec, and then the GemStone database export its own known OpenAPI for this project into a file, and so I can use the Swagger UI to show these API definitions. The other benefit is that if you have an OpenAPI JSON spec or the Microsoft equivalent syntax, you can use the OpenAPI source code generator. So they take your API definitions and they create you for, I think they have now 20, 25 different code generators. They generate you code to interact with your application server. I have my own stuff for C#. I have my own stuff for Zencha XJS, but if you want to have Kotlin or stuff like this, you can use the OpenAPI source code generation tools they have delivered. The other standard I want to at least mention here is the async API, and for asynchronous APIs. This is at least for message-driven or event-driven applications the relevant standard. What I found very interesting is that nobody supports the synchronous HTTP REST stuff or the HTTP way of calling services together with some kind of events. There is no specification, no standard using it. And I've seen on the OpenAPI list that several persons mentioned that it would be very nice if we have the original REST stuff, if you have HTTPI-based server, that we also would like to be able to define some kind of events in this programming model, but it's not available there. So event-driven. So I show you a very simple example. The JavaScript clients are connected via MQTT as a simple client, and the server from the Cartier systems are synchronized via a RapidMQ queue, an exchange, and then low-level queue. And the gems and all these three independent systems send events over RapidMQ to each other, and the other server looks at the event and shows if it's interesting for him, and then updates its own database. And this is another way which shows the old programming style. We have GemStone here, which is the dashboard, the election dashboard. It starts an external Python script. The Python script runs in parallel. You get jobs. Are there any jobs, graphic jobs to do? Python grabs the job and then in a linear approach put it to some Windows machines which do the rendering, get the result back, do some post graphic manipulation and put it on a playout server, and then via an API call sends it back to GemStone. I have done my work. This is a very linear system and not really extended on multiple processes. If you do this with RapidMQ, it looks like very much, it looks, on the first hand, it looks much more difficult, but all these processes, which is the dark yellow stuff, this one and this one, are very small, perhaps 2 2 pages long C# programs, which do only a very small part of work. And they all fit together. They are all connected via crews. And GemStone is this is our new graphics production path we will implement. GemStone is only now pushing the request with all the information to RapidInQ, and all the external processes are running on different machines in different locations in the internet and on Windows and stuff like this, and they all push they do their work and push their result to the next queue, and or they for example, this is a conversion tool to a graphic command language. This is the actual graphics rendering, which does the picture. The picture one has to send it to a post-processing task, and all these C# stuffs are only 2 pages long. They connect to XGS, they connect to a queue, and they are waiting a command, and that's it. And then they stay forever. And if they get a command, they do their work and stop it. And then you can, well, it is scalable in a fantastic way. So events changed the programming style definitely, and there's still a way for GemStone to manage this whole orchestra of processes. But as you can see, it is only a small part, a very important part, but it's not. It is there. It has it right. It's because of its own strength to stay there. So PDF reporting. This is basic. Meets customer expectation. The stuff from Christian Heider and Bob Nemec. I think reporting in all Smalltalks are very not well done, not really supported. VAST is, I used the VAST reporting stuff, I think 20 years ago. This is definitely out of date. And these two libraries meets the expectation the customer has. And Superset, well, this is one which came up the last 2 years. And I, as a one person, I can't develop really a dashboard. So I've decided to use Superset and the PostgreSQL extension to deliver an up-to-date dashboard. It's a very high complex subsystem, and this takes a lot of time to make it runnable. And you have to get to know lots of stuff in all these access restriction, cross origin and stuff like this. This is heavy stuff I've never seen before, I have to admit.
But ultimately you're happy with it, I guess, although it's complex.
It is complex, definitely, but the look and feel is very well. It works on the PostgreSQL database, so my GemStone cores are not really doing any heavy stuff for it. And you could even give the user access to this dashboard, and they can produce their own reports if you give them the relational structure of tables on a read-only stuff. And they are simply happy. That's unbelievable. Something if you give them a Mercedes, and they are also happy. So my problems with GemStone in the first project is the deletion of objects. I made lots of mistakes in my first projects. I simply lost my objects, so they were not deleted, or they were deleted very, very. They took quite a long time when they were deleted. And so I very often have garbage collection routines, which don't do garbage collection in the technical Smalltalk sense, but I removed objects actively, and I build them. I nil them, the attributes, to help the garbage collector to get them all done. And I made mistakes in association so that I can't find these objects which I have to so I lost access to objects, and they may held other objects, and these objects should be deleted. You have to take this into account. Another problem I had was migration between GemStone product versions. There was one version migration where I definitely could jump out of the window because nothing worked. But due to a help from GemTalk system, I managed to jump on the newer GemStone version. The query management is, compared with relational databases, weak, and it is slow. Lots of performance are in the code, and you could make this much faster, but they said it is so old code they will not touch it because it works in so many products, and the license restriction I mentioned. So, well, Smalltalk and GitHub. I stopped working on GitHub for Smalltalk. I had to install a product at a customer which has a very restricted access to internet. And I was really surprised to see when I initially loaded GemStone with the code from Dale Henry's, that how many different computers I touch during loading packages from GitHub. For each of these additional computers, I have to go to the administrator and, would you please be so kind to give me access to a Smalltalk hub? Would you please be so kind to give me access to squeak.org? And there were other also I've never heard of sources. So what I do now, I use only pre-configured databases with everything installed, and I stay with Monticello packages. I still have one. The PDF stuff is still on GitHub, but I will put it back to my local file system. Well, I have envy history, and this means GitHub is, for me, it's a tremendous marketing stuff, definitely. But I want to have support for Smalltalk like Envy has, and I think GitHub is not there. As I mentioned, Monticello packages. For the UIs, I use S4N Subversion. For all my other languages, I use Git or S4N. For Java, Python, JavaScript, then I use mostly now Git. And there it's totally okay if it's on GitHub. For each product, we have in our company the rule that we have to produce online documentation. This is done while help in manual, which is the product. And conclusion, some remarks. I have used Smalltalk only if it adds real value, and if it's not could be identified as this is your hobby. I would like to have more how-tos in all Smalltalk stuff. I would like to have more project templates. For example, if you work with C#, you can say, well, you want a WinForm application, you want a command line application. This is additional comfort the developer today expects. GemStone, yes. PDF reporting is on its way. I do some work, hopefully next week or next 2 weeks with Christian. And it is definitely a database for much more it can do. And I have to say, my best wishes for GemTalk system, because it's a very nice company to speak with. And one critical issue in general for all commercial Smalltalk licenses, it seems to be a way that it's hard to get commercial Smalltalk licenses. No, licenses for commercial Smalltalk, so for private users. This is workable, not too restricted license. And this is not a good way. And I have to criticize Instantiations that they made a step back. Visual Works, yes, okay. They only deliver old versions to students, and I think students like to work with the newest part, the newest technology, and what is currently mainstream. And if you say, well, you get only a 2-year-old version, or you have to register yourself to make a download. This is, I think, not state of the art today. So that's it.
Wow, lots of stuff in there. That's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, impressive.
And so even if I say critics here, all my products uses GemStone. All my project uses GemStone. So this is critic in a good mind and not in a bad mind, just to make this clear.
Yeah, no, I think I understood that. Yeah, you're right.
So that's it.
And it's based on real usage. Look, you've showed us like quite a number of cool looking products, right? So it's real stuff. So you're basing this on experience, so which is quite nice. So really appreciate you sharing this.